Malicious compliance stepsister stole my shirts, so I took all of hers. I'm staring at my empty dresser drawer, the one where I kept my favorite shirts, and I can feel my blood pressure spiking. Again. This is the third time this week that half my clothes have mysteriously vanished, only to reappear in Instagram posts of my stepsister Madison looking like she raided a trendy boutique. Dad. I call down the hallway, my voice echoing off the pristine white walls of our new McMansion. Everything about this place screams Madison and her mom Cheryl, from the live laugh love signs to the spotless granite countertops that no one's allowed to actually use. What's up, kiddo? Dad appears in my doorway, and I can already see that distracted look in his eyes. The same one he gets whenever I bring up anything that might disturb the perfect blended family fantasy he's constructed. Madison took my shirts again. The black vintage one, the oversized flannel, and my Nirvana tee. I gesture at the pathetically empty drawer. I asked her 3 times to stop going through my stuff. Dad sighs and runs a hand through his graying hair. Look, I know it's an adjustment living with new people, but maybe she just wants to bond with you. Sharing clothes is what sisters do, right? Sisters, the word hits wrong every single time. Madison and I have been step-siblings for exactly 4 months, ever since Dad married Cheryl in what she called the wedding of the century, and what I called the day my life got hijacked by strangers. She's not my sister, I say, trying to keep my voice level. And she has an entire walk-in closet full of designer clothes. She doesn't need mine. Come on, don't be dramatic. They're just shirts. Just shirts. I want to scream. These aren't just random pieces of fabric, they're the clothes I carefully picked out with my mom before she died 2 years ago. The vintage band tees we found at thrift stores during our Saturday adventures. The flannel that still smells faintly like her perfume if I bury my face in it on bad days. But I can't explain that to Dad without watching his face crumple with guilt, and honestly, I'm too tired for that conversation right now. Fine, I say instead. But when she complains that her stuff goes missing, remember this conversation. Dad's eyebrows furrow. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, Dad. Forget it. He lingers in my doorway for a moment like he wants to say something else, but then Cheryl's voice drifts up from downstairs calling him to look at paint samples for the guest bathroom, and just like that, I'm dismissed. I flop onto my bed and grab my phone, scrolling through Madison's latest Instagram story. There she is at lunch with her friends, wearing MY Nirvana shirt, the one I bought at a vintage shop in the city with my own babysitting money. She's captioned it, "Vintage vibe sparkles," like she has any clue what Kurt Cobain even sang about. The comments are full of her friends gushing about her amazing style and asking where she got the shirt. Madison just responds with winky face emojis, taking full credit. I screenshot the post, adding it to the growing folder of evidence on my phone. Because Dad might think this is just harmless sister bonding, but I'm starting to realize that Madison sees me as her personal shopping mall, one where everything's free and no one enforces the return policy. Well, that's about to change. The next morning, I corner Madison in the kitchen while she's making her usual breakfast of Greek yogurt and organic berries, the kind that costs more than my entire weekly allowance. I need my shirts back, I say, blocking her path to the marble island where she likes to eat while scrolling TikTok. Madison doesn't even look up from her phone. What shirts? Don't play dumb. The ones you've been posting all over social media. She finally glances at me, her perfectly contoured eyebrows raised in fake confusion. Oh, those? I think they're in my laundry basket. I'll get them back to you, eventually. I want them back today. Okay, chill. She rolls her eyes and takes a deliberate bite of yogurt. God, you're so uptight about everything. They're just clothes. There it is again. Just clothes, like my entire identity can be reduced to disposable fabric. They're my clothes, I emphasize. That I bought with my own money. And now they look better on me. Madison smirks, finally putting down her phone to give me her full attention. Honestly, you should be thanking me. I'm actually doing something with them instead of letting them rot in your sad little dresser. Heat floods my cheeks. Excuse me. I mean, come on. She gestures vaguely at my outfit, a plain hoodie and jeans. You have zero sense of style. At least when I wear your stuff, people actually notice it. I'm basically giving your clothes the appreciation they deserve. Before I can respond, Cheryl sweeps into the kitchen wearing a silk robe and her usual morning face mask. Good morning, girls. How nice to see you two chatting. We weren't chatting, I mutter. Oh, don't be silly. Cheryl starts fussing with her expensive espresso machine. I love seeing you bond. Madison, honey, didn't I see you wearing something adorable yesterday? That vintage shirt. Madison's smirk widens. Yeah, isn't it cute? It's got such a cool, authentic vibe. My hands clench into fists. Authentic. She wouldn't know authentic if it slapped her across her surgically perfected nose. Where did you find it? Cheryl continues, completely oblivious to the tension crackling between us. Oh, just in my closet, Madison says sweetly, shooting me a challenging look. That's it. She's not even pretending anymore. She's straight up lying to her mom's face and daring me to call her out. Actually, I start, but Madison cuts me off. Speaking of clothes, I'm going shopping with Taylor and Brooke this weekend. We're hitting all the vintage stores downtown. She pauses dramatically. You know, to find some actually authentic pieces instead of wearing the same boring stuff all the time. The insult lands exactly where she intended. Those vintage stores. That was my thing with Mom. Our Saturday tradition. Madison knows this because I made the mistake of mentioning it during one of Cheryl's forced family bonding dinners. How wonderful. Cheryl beams. You girls have such great taste. Maybe you can pick something out for your stepsister too. Madison's smile turns razor sharp. Oh, I'm sure I can find something that suits her, aesthetic. I can practically hear the air quotes around aesthetic, and from the way Madison's eyes glitter with malice, I know she's planning something worse than just borrowing my clothes. I have to get ready for school, I mumble, retreating before I say something that'll get me in trouble. But as I head upstairs, I hear Madison call after me, oh, and thanks for letting me borrow that flannel shirt. I'm wearing it to Jake Morrison's party tonight. I promise I'll try not to spill anything on it. The flannel. The one that still smells like mom's perfume. Game on, Madison. I spend the entire day at school plotting my revenge, but by the time I get home, something even worse has happened. Madison is sprawled across the living room couch, still wearing my flannel shirt from the night before. Except now it's not just wrinkled, there's a huge red stain down the front that definitely wasn't there yesterday. Oops, she says when she sees me staring. Jake's party got a little crazy. Someone spilled wine on me. She holds up the shirt, examining the stain with mock concern. I tried to wash it out, but... She shrugs like she's talking about the weather. My vision actually blurs for a second. That's my mom's shirt. What? That flannel. It was my mom's. She died 2 years ago. For just a moment, Madison's expression falters. But then that familiar smirk slides back into place. Well, how was I supposed to know that? You never told me it was some precious family heirloom. I shouldn't have to tell you not to take my clothes. My voice cracks, and I hate how desperate I sound. Look, accidents happen. I'll buy you a new one. You can't buy me a new one. It's vintage. It's irreplaceable. Madison rolls her eyes. God, you're so dramatic. It's literally just a shirt from some dead person's closet. The words hit me like a physical blow. Dead person's closet. She's talking about my mother like she was nothing. Take it off. Right now. Excuse me. The shirt. Take it off. You've done enough damage. Madison stands up slowly, and I realize she's enjoying this. She's actually getting off on watching me fall apart. Make me. We're standing there in a stalemate when Cheryl walks in, arms full of shopping bags from her weekly Whole Foods expedition. Girls. Perfect timing. I got those organic face masks you wanted, Madison, and she stops, noticing the tension. What's going on? Your stepdaughter is having a meltdown over a shirt, Madison says, her voice dripping with fake concern. I accidentally got a tiny stain on it at a party, and now she's acting like I murdered someone. It's not just a shirt, I say through gritted teeth. It belonged to my mom. Cheryl's face immediately shifts into that patronizing expression she gets whenever my mom gets mentioned. Oh, sweetie. I understand this must be emotional for you, but we can't live in the past forever. Maybe this is the universe's way of telling you to let go of some of those old things. I stare at her in disbelief. Let go. I just mean that holding on to material possessions isn't healthy grief processing. Perhaps it's time to focus on making new memories with your new family. New family. The way she says it makes my skin crawl, like my old family, my mom, is just something inconvenient to be discarded and replaced. Besides, Madison adds, sensing her mom's support, it's not like the stain is that bad. I bet a good dry cleaner could get it out. Or we could tie-dye over it. Make it into something new and fun. Tie-dye. Over my mother's shirt. You know what? I say, my voice eerily calm. You're absolutely right. Both Madison and Cheryl look surprised by my sudden agreement. I have been holding on to the past too much. Maybe it is time to let go of old things and focus on new experiences. Madison grins triumphantly. See? I knew you'd come around. In fact, I continue, I think this whole experience has taught me something valuable about sharing and letting go of material possessions. Exactly. Cheryl beams. This is such healthy growth, sweetheart. I smile sweetly at both of them. I'm so glad we had this talk. It's really opened my eyes about what's important in a blended family. Madison tosses her hair smugly. I'm just happy I could help you work through your issues. Oh, you have no idea how much you've helped me. The beautiful thing about revenge is that it tastes so much sweeter when your target has no clue what's coming. The next few days pass in an eerie calm. I go to school, come home, do my homework, and act like the perfect, compliant stepdaughter. I even smile when Madison parades around in my stolen clothes, adding insult to injury by mixing my vintage pieces with her designer accessories like she's some kind of fashion influencer. But inside, I'm planning. Friday after school, I overhear Madison on the phone with her friend Taylor, confirming their sleepover plans for the weekend. Perfect. She'll be gone from Saturday morning until Sunday evening, plenty of time to execute my plan. Oh, and I'm totally wearing that cute band shirt I found, Madison says, loud enough for me to hear from the hallway. You know, the one with the authentic vintage wear. It'll be perfect for our Instagram photos at the farmer's market. That cute band shirt is my Ramones tee, another piece Mom and I found together at a record store in Brooklyn. The irony of Madison wearing punk rock merchandise to a farmer's market isn't lost on me, but I just smile and keep walking. Saturday morning arrives with the sound of Madison dragging her overnight bag down the marble staircase. She's wearing my denim jacket, the one with patches Mom and I sewed on together, over what I'm pretty sure is my black crop top. Bye, family, she calls out cheerfully, not even bothering to look at me as Cheryl drives her to Taylor's house. Dad's already left for his weekly golf game with his new country club buddies, another bonding activity Cheryl suggested to help him integrate better into their social circle. Translation, another Saturday where I'm basically invisible. I wait exactly 1 hour after they're all gone before I make my move. Madison's room is like stepping into a Pinterest board titled Rich Girl Aesthetic. Everything is white, gold, and perfectly organized. Her walk-in closet is bigger than my entire bedroom back at Mom and Dad's old apartment, with built-in shelving, LED lighting, and enough hanging space for a small boutique. I start systematically, working from left to right. Designer jeans, crop tops, sundresses, sweaters that still have tags on them. Everything goes into garbage bags, not because I want to damage anything, but because it's the most efficient way to transport everything. As I work, I find more of my clothes mixed in with hers. My oversized sweater that I thought I'd just misplaced. A pair of my jeans that Madison claimed looked better on her anyway. Even my old band patches that had mysteriously disappeared from my desk, apparently she was planning her own DIY vintage jacket project. The rage fuels me as I work faster, emptying shelf after shelf. Her makeup collection alone probably costs more than my college fund, but I pack it all up anyway. Shoes, accessories, even her collection of designer handbags that she's never actually used. By the time I'm finished, Madison's closet looks like a crime scene. Empty hangers dangle sadly from the rods, and the only things left are the built-in furniture and a single sock that must have fallen behind one of the shelves. I haul everything down to the basement storage room, the one Cheryl uses for her seasonal decorations and Dad's old golf clubs. It takes 6 trips, and by the end, I'm sweating despite the house's aggressive air conditioning. The beauty of my plan isn't just the shock value, it's the lesson. Madison needs to understand what it feels like to have someone take your belongings without permission. To wake up and find your personal space violated. To be dismissed when you complain about it. But as I'm hauling the last bag downstairs, I hear the front door slam. Hello? Anyone home? Cheryl's voice echoes through the foyer. My heart stops. She's supposed to be at her book club for another 3 hours. Footsteps on the stairs. She's heading to Madison's room. I'm so screwed. I freeze in the basement, garbage bag still in my hands, as Cheryl's footsteps move across the floor above me. Think. I need a cover story, and I need it now. The footsteps pause, then quicken. She's definitely in Madison's room now, and from the sudden silence, I'm guessing she's discovered the empty closet. What the hell? Cheryl's shriek could probably be heard 3 houses down. I quickly shove the last bag behind Dad's old exercise equipment and race upstairs, trying to look as innocent as possible. Cheryl is standing in Madison's doorway, her face cycling through about 15 different shades of red. Oh my god, I say, putting on my best shocked expression. What happened? Don't you dare. Cheryl whirls around to face me, her perfectly styled hair actually disheveled for once. Where are Madison's clothes? What do you mean? I just got back from the library. I hold up my backpack as evidence, thankful that I actually did stop there on my way home yesterday. Has someone been in her room? Cheryl's eyes narrow to slits. Cut the innocent act. I know you did this. Did what? Cheryl, you're scaring me. I push past her to look into Madison's closet, letting my jaw drop dramatically. Holy shit, someone robbed us. Language, she snaps automatically, then seems to realize how ridiculous that sounds given the circumstances. This wasn't a robbery. This was revenge. I pull out my phone with shaking hands, partly from adrenaline, partly from genuine fear of getting caught. Should I call 911? Oh god, what if they're still in the house? What if they took your stuff too? For just a moment, doubt flickers across Cheryl's face. She clearly wants to blame me, but I'm selling the innocent act pretty well, and the alternative, that someone actually broke in, is terrifying enough to consider. We should check your father's office, I continue, really leaning into it now. And your jewelry box. Oh my god, Cheryl, what if they took your wedding ring? That does it. Despite her suspicions about me, the thought of losing her precious 3-carat diamond sends her racing to her own bedroom. I hear drawers slamming and closets opening as she frantically checks her valuables. Everything's here, she calls out, confusion evident in her voice. I meet her in the hallway, biting my lip like I'm trying to solve a puzzle. That's so weird. Why would someone only take Madison's clothes? Unless. I pause dramatically. Unless what? Well, Madison has been posting a lot of outfit photos on Instagram lately. What if someone's been stalking her social media? Like, some creepy person who's obsessed with her style. Cheryl's face goes pale. In her mind, I can practically see her scrolling through all those Instagram posts Madison makes, realizing how much personal information is out there. The geotags from school, the photos taken in her bedroom, the casual mentions of weekend plans. We need to call the police, she says, but she sounds less certain than before. Maybe we should wait for Dad and Madison to get back first. I mean, what if Madison just moved her clothes somewhere? You know how she's always reorganizing her closet for photo shoots. It's a weak explanation and we both know it, but Cheryl is clearly torn between her desire to blame me and her growing panic about a potential stalker situation. This doesn't make sense, she mutters, pulling out her phone. I'm calling Madison. My stomach drops. If Madison's with her friends having a normal sleepover, my cover story falls apart completely. But if she's busy, or if her phone is dead, I might have a few more hours to figure this out. The phone rings once, twice, 3 times. Then straight to voicemail. Madison, honey, call me immediately. Something's happened at home and I need to know you're safe. Now we wait. The waiting is torture. Cheryl paces the living room like a caged animal, checking her phone every 30 seconds and muttering about predators on social media and privacy settings. I'm perched on the edge of the couch, trying to look appropriately concerned while internally calculating how long I have before this whole thing explodes in my face. My phone buzzes. A text from Madison, asterisk, having the best time. Taylor's older brother brought his college friends over, smiling face with heart eyes, phone dying but don't wait up. Asterisk. I quickly turn my phone face down, but not before Cheryl notices the notification light. Who's that? She demands. Just a group chat about homework, I lie smoothly. Want me to try calling Madison from my phone? Sometimes she answers faster for me. It's a calculated risk, but I need to control the narrative here. I dial Madison's number, knowing it'll go straight to voicemail now that her phone's dead. Hey Madison, it's your stepsister. Can you call home when you get this? Your mom's worried about something. Nothing serious. I add quickly, shooting Cheryl a reassuring look. Just call when you can. Cheryl's shoulders relax slightly. At least she knows to call back now. 20 minutes later, Dad walks through the front door, golf bag slung over his shoulder and looking more relaxed than I've seen him in months. That relaxation evaporates the second he sees Cheryl's face. What's wrong? He asks immediately. Someone broke into Madison's room, Cheryl says, her voice tight with controlled panic. They took everything. Every single piece of clothing, her shoes, her accessories. Everything. Dad's face goes through the same shock, confusion, disbelief cycle I witnessed earlier. What do you mean, everything? I mean her closet is completely empty, David. Stripped bare. I watch Dad process this information, his eyes automatically sliding to me with a look I recognize all too well. The same expression he gets when the neighbors complain about loud music or when the school calls about missed assignments. Guilty until proven innocent. Where were you this afternoon? He asks me directly. Library, then walking around downtown, I answer truthfully. Well, mostly truthfully. I have receipts from the bookstore if you want to see them. Again, thankfully true, I grabbed a coffee there yesterday and still had the receipt in my backpack. Cheryl jumps in before Dad can respond. I think someone's been stalking Madison's Instagram. She posts so many photos of her outfits, and with location tags. Some sick person probably figured out when she be gone and broke in just to steal her clothes. I have to admire how completely Cheryl has convinced herself of this theory. It's so much more palatable than admitting her perfect daughter might have enemies. Dad runs his hands through his hair, a gesture I inherited from him. Did you check the security cameras? My blood turns to ice water. Security cameras. How did I forget about the fucking security cameras? Cheryl's eyes light up. The cameras. David, you're brilliant. The footage will show exactly what happened. This is it. Game over. In about 5 minutes, they'll be watching HD footage of me systematically emptying Madison's closet like some kind of vengeful pack mule. I try to keep my expression neutral, but inside I'm frantically calculating whether I can somehow sprint to the basement and put everything back before they check the recordings. Dad's already heading toward his office where the security system monitor is set up. Let me pull up this afternoon's footage. I'll make some coffee, Cheryl says, following him. This is going to be a long night. As they disappear down the hallway, I'm left alone with the crushing realization that my brilliant revenge plan is about to backfire spectacularly. In my rage-fueled plotting, I'd somehow convinced myself that I was untouchable, that my righteous anger would protect me from consequences. But now, listening to Dad clicking through security footage in the next room, I realize I've made a catastrophic miscalculation. This isn't just about getting in trouble for taking Madison's clothes, this is about betraying Dad's trust completely. About confirming every suspicion Cheryl's probably whispered to him about his difficult daughter who can't adjust to their new family. That's weird, Dad's voice carries from the office. My heart hammers against my ribs. Here it comes. What? Cheryl calls back. The camera that covers the upstairs hallway, it's been offline since yesterday morning. Shows a connection error. Wait. What? What about the other cameras? Cheryl asks. Front door camera works fine, back door too. But the one that would have caught anyone going in and out of Madison's room, it's been down for over 24 hours. I can hardly believe what I'm hearing. The universe has just handed me the most incredible stroke of luck, and I'm not about to waste it. Maybe whoever did this disabled it somehow. I call out, trying to sound helpful rather than relieved. The silence from Dad's office stretches uncomfortably long. Actually, Dad's voice cuts through the silence, and I can hear him typing on his computer. Let me check something else. My momentary relief evaporates. There's something in his tone that makes my stomach clench with fresh dread. David? Cheryl prompts when he doesn't continue. The system logs show when cameras go offline and come back online automatically. This one. More typing. It didn't just malfunction. Someone manually disabled it from the main control panel. Shit. Shit, shit, shit. What does that mean? Cheryl asks, but I can hear in her voice that she already knows exactly what it means. It means someone in this house turned off that specific camera. Someone who knew which camera covered Madison's room and how to access the security system. The accusation hangs in the air like smoke. I force myself to walk calmly toward Dad's office, even though every instinct is screaming at me to run. Wait, I say, appearing in the doorway with what I hope looks like dawning realization. Are you saying someone who lives here did this? Like, someone with access to the security system? Dad's eyes meet mine, and I can see him wrestling with himself. Part of him wants to believe I'm innocent, but the evidence is starting to stack up in ways that are impossible to ignore. The only people who know the security code are the four of us, he says carefully. And Madison, I add quickly. She knows it too, right? Maybe she had someone over yesterday, or maybe one of her friends. Don't. Cheryl's voice is sharp enough to cut glass. Don't you dare try to blame Madison for this. I'm not blaming anyone. I'm just trying to figure out what happened. I look back and forth between them, channeling every ounce of confused innocence I can muster. Are you seriously suggesting that I snuck into Madison's room and stole all her clothes? Why would I do something like that? The question hangs there, and I can practically see Cheryl's mental wheels spinning as she remembers every complaint I've made about Madison taking my stuff. Every argument we've witnessed, every time I've looked frustrated or angry about the clothes situation. You've been upset about the clothing sharing, Dad says slowly, like he's testing out the words. Upset enough to steal an entire closet worth of designer clothes. Dad, come on. Where would I even put all that stuff? My room's tiny compared to Madison's palace. It's a good point, and I can see it land. Dad glances around his office, then toward the stairs, probably mentally calculating the logistics of hiding that much stuff. We should search your room, Cheryl says suddenly. If you have nothing to hide, you won't mind us looking. My throat goes dry. Seriously? You want to search my room like I'm some kind of criminal? Just to rule it out, Dad says, but his tone is apologetic. If we don't find anything, then we know for sure it wasn't you, and we can focus on figuring out what really happened. I want to refuse. Every fiber of my being is screaming that this is a violation, that I shouldn't have to prove my innocence in my own home. But refusing will only make me look guilty. Fine, I say, stepping aside. Search away. But when you don't find anything, I want an apology. The three of us troop upstairs, and I pray to every deity I can think of that my performance is convincing enough. Because if they decide to expand their search beyond my room, if they start looking in the basement, or the garage, or any of the other places I could have hidden Madison's clothes, this whole charade falls apart. Dad opens my dresser drawers while Cheryl checks my closet, and I watch them rifle through my belongings with a mixture of genuine indignation and absolute terror. Nothing here, Dad says finally. Cheryl emerges from my closet empty-handed, her face a mask of frustrated confusion. I told you, I say, but inside I'm calculating how long I have before they widen the search. The house feels like a pressure cooker for the rest of the evening. Dad keeps wandering around, checking locks and peering out windows like he's expecting masked intruders to come rappelling down from the roof. Cheryl alternates between frantic phone calls to Madison, who still isn't answering, and Googling things like how to protect teenagers from social media stalkers. I'm doing my homework at the kitchen table, trying to look normal while internally freaking out about the timeline. Madison will be back tomorrow evening. That gives me maybe 18 hours to figure out how to return everything without getting caught, assuming I can even move that many garbage bags without someone noticing. My phone buzzes with a text from my friend Jake, *, movie night at my place tomorrow. My parents are out of town. *. An idea starts forming. A potentially brilliant, definitely risky idea. *, can't tomorrow, family stuff. But hey, random question, how much room is in your garage? *. Tons of room, why? You need storage space or something? *. Something like that. I'll explain later. *. I'm just starting to feel like maybe I can pull this off when Dad's phone rings. Unknown number. Hello. Dad answers, putting it on speaker since we're all desperately hoping it's Madison calling from someone else's phone. Is this David Chin? The voice is female, older, definitely not Madison. Yes, this is David. This is Mrs. Henderson from 3 houses down. I'm calling because I noticed some unusual activity at your house this afternoon, and given the recent break-ins in the neighborhood, I thought I should mention it. My blood turns to absolute ice. Mrs. Henderson. The retired teacher who spends her entire day stationed at her front window like she's running surveillance on the whole street. Cheryl grabs Dad's arm. What kind of activity? Well, I saw your daughter making multiple trips from the house to what looked like the basement entrance. She was carrying large bags, and it seemed odd. Especially since I know the family was supposed to be out today. Dad's eyes find mine across the kitchen table. What time was this, Mrs. Henderson? Oh, around noon, I'd say. Maybe 12:30. She made at least 6 trips that I saw, possibly more. The bags looked quite heavy. The silence that follows is deafening. I can practically hear the pieces clicking into place in both Dad's and Cheryl's minds. Thank you for calling, Mrs. Henderson, Dad says quietly. We appreciate you looking out for the neighborhood. As soon as he hangs up, Cheryl explodes. 6 trips to the basement. With heavy bags? What exactly were you moving down there? My mind races through possible explanations, but they all sound pathetic even in my head. I was organizing some old stuff. Boxes from when we moved in that I never unpacked. Show us, Dad says, and his voice has gone cold in a way I haven't heard since Mom's funeral when he caught me trying to sneak into the funeral home after hours. This is it. The moment where my elaborate revenge fantasy crashes headfirst into reality. I can see the basement in my mind's eye, stuffed with garbage bags full of Madison's designer wardrobe like some kind of high-end storage unit. Dad, I can explain. The basement. Now. Cheryl is already moving toward the basement door, her face flushed with vindicated rage. Dad follows, and I trail behind like I'm walking to my execution. Each step down feels like it takes forever. The basement smells like fabric softener and expensive perfume now, thanks to Madison's clothes. Cheryl reaches for the light switch. And that's when we hear the front door slam upstairs, followed by Madison's voice echoing through the house, I'm home. Taylor's mom had to drop me off early because Taylor got food poisoning from some sketchy sushi place. Perfect timing, as always. The sound of Madison's voice from upstairs hits like a lightning bolt. For one insane second, I actually consider making a run for it, just sprinting past Dad and Cheryl, up the stairs, and out the front door into the night. But my legs feel like they're made of concrete. Madison. Cheryl calls out, her hand frozen on the basement light switch. Come down here right now. Why? I just want to shower and change into my pajamas. That sushi place was literally disgusting and I think I smell like. Now, Madison. The authority in Cheryl's voice must register because I hear Madison's footsteps on the stairs, accompanied by dramatic sighing. God, what's everyone's problem? I come home early to spend time with my family and this is the greeting I get. She appears at the top of the basement stairs in a cropped hoodie and leggings, her hair in a messy bun, looking like she just stepped out of a Pinterest board titled Effortless Weekend Vibes. When she sees all 3 of us clustered at the bottom of the stairs like some kind of intervention, her eyebrows shoot up. Okay, this is weird. What's going on? Why does everyone look like someone died? Your room was robbed, Dad says bluntly. Madison blinks. What? Someone broke in while you were gone and took everything from your closet, Cheryl explains, her voice tight. Every single piece of clothing, all your shoes, your accessories. Everything. I watch Madison's face cycle through confusion, disbelief, and then something that looks almost like relief. But it's gone so fast I might have imagined it. Everything. Madison repeats. Like, literally everything. Every last item, Cheryl confirms. The whole closet is empty. Madison slowly walks down the remaining steps, her eyes flicking between her mom and Dad before landing on me. There's something calculating in her expression that makes my stomach churn. Wow, she says finally. That's actually kind of impressive. I mean, do you know how much stuff was in there? That would have taken hours. Which is why we're down here, Dad says grimly, about to look at what your stepsister has been hiding in our basement. Madison's eyebrows climb even higher. Oh my God, you think she stole my clothes? She looks at me with what appears to be genuine surprise. Seriously? The evidence is pretty compelling, Cheryl snaps. Mrs. Henderson saw her making multiple trips down here with heavy bags right around the time your room was cleaned out. And someone disabled the security camera that would have recorded the hallway outside your room, Dad adds. Madison crosses her arms and studies me like I'm some kind of fascinating puzzle. You know what? I'm actually kind of impressed. I didn't think you had it in you. Wait. What? Madison. Cheryl gasps. She stole from you. Thousands of dollars worth of clothing and accessories. Yeah, but like. Madison shrugs. I've kinda been taking her stuff for weeks. This is just her finally fighting back. The basement goes dead silent. I can practically hear Dad's worldview reshuffling itself as he processes what Madison just casually admitted. You've been taking her things? Dad asks slowly. Well, yeah. I mean, she has some actually decent pieces mixed in with all the thrift store stuff. And it's not like she was doing anything interesting with them. Madison's tone is so matter-of-fact, like she's discussing the weather. Besides, isn't sharing supposed to be part of the whole blended family thing? Cheryl looks like she's been slapped. Madison, we talked about asking permission before borrowing things. And I talked about how some of those clothes belong to my dead mother, I say, finding my voice again. Including the flannel shirt you ruined with wine. Madison has the decency to look slightly ashamed at that. Okay, that one was actually an accident. And I said I was sorry. You said it was just a shirt from some dead person's closet, I correct her. The words hang in the air like a toxic cloud. Dad's face goes through several expressions before settling on something that looks like barely controlled fury. You said what? His voice is dangerously quiet. Madison suddenly realizes she's in deeper trouble than she thought. I didn't mean it like that. I was angry because she was being so dramatic about a stupid stain. A stupid stain, Dad repeats, on her mother's shirt. I didn't know it was her mom's shirt when I borrowed it. Because you didn't ask. I explode. You never ask. You just take whatever you want and act like I should be grateful that you're giving my clothes the appreciation they deserve. Cheryl flicks on the basement light, and we're all suddenly illuminated in harsh fluorescent lighting. But instead of revealing my guilt, the light shows something else entirely, Madison's face, which has gone completely pale as the full scope of the situation finally hits her. So, Dad says, his voice eerily calm, let me see if I understand this correctly. Madison has been systematically taking her stepsister's belongings without permission, including irreplaceable items with sentimental value. And when confronted about damaging something that belonged to my late wife, she responded by calling it just a shirt from some dead person's closet. Madison opens her mouth to defend herself, but Dad holds up a hand. And in response to months of having her belongings stolen and her concerns dismissed, my daughter decided to teach Madison a lesson by temporarily relocating her entire wardrobe to our basement. He looks around at all of us, and I can't tell if he's furious, proud, or just completely done with this entire situation. Well, he says finally, I guess we know where everyone stands. The silence stretches so long I can hear the basement's HVAC system humming above us. Dad's looking at each of us like he's trying to solve some impossible equation, while Cheryl keeps opening and closing her mouth like a fish gasping for air. I want to see the clothes, Madison says suddenly. I want to see what condition they're in. Madison, that's not the point, Cheryl starts. Actually, it kind of is the point, Mom. If she trashed my stuff out of spite, that's different than if she just moved it. Madison's eyes meet mine, and there's something almost like respect there. So, did you destroy anything? I shake my head. Everything's in garbage bags. Nothing's damaged. Garbage bags? Cheryl's voice climbs an octave. You put designer clothes in garbage bags? They're clean garbage bags, I mutter, then realize how ridiculous that sounds. Dad runs his hands through his hair again. Okay, everyone upstairs. Now. We're going to sit down and figure this out like adults. But as we start heading toward the stairs, Madison grabs my arm. Wait. Can I ask you something? I nod warily. The flannel shirt. Is it really ruined? Her voice is smaller than usual, almost vulnerable. For the first time since I've known her, Madison actually looks sorry. I don't know yet. I haven't tried to get the stain out. She nods slowly. I really didn't know it was your mom's. I swear. I wouldn't have. She trails off, looking genuinely uncomfortable. But you would have taken it anyway, I point out. Even if it wasn't my mom's. You still would have gone into my room and taken my clothes without asking. Madison doesn't have an answer for that. Upstairs, Dad makes us all sit around the kitchen table like we're having some kind of twisted family meeting. Cheryl keeps glancing toward the basement door like she's worried someone's going to come steal the rest of the house while we're talking. Here's what's going to happen, Dad announces. Madison, you're going to apologize to your stepsister for taking her belongings and for the completely unacceptable comment about her mother. Dad, I start to protest that a forced apology means nothing, but he cuts me off. And you're going to return every single item you took, in the same condition you found it. If anything is damaged or can't be returned, you'll replace it with your own money. Madison's eyes go wide. But some of that stuff is vintage. You can't just buy replacements. Then you should have thought of that before taking things that weren't yours. Cheryl finally finds her voice. David, I think we need to talk about proportional consequences here. What she did to Madison. What she did, Dad interrupts, was respond to months of theft and disrespect. Should she have handled it differently? Yes. But let's not pretend Madison is the victim here. I can see Cheryl's face turning red, and I realize this conversation is about to explode into something much bigger than missing clothes. This is about Dad choosing sides. About the careful balance of the blended family finally tipping over. Madison has been trying to bond with her, Cheryl says tightly. Sharing clothes is normal sister behavior. Taking without asking isn't sharing, Dad replies. It's stealing. She's being dramatic about some old clothes. They're not just clothes. The words burst out of me before I can stop them. They're all I have left of her. Every shirt, every jacket, every stupid piece of fabric is connected to a memory, and Madison treats them like they're disposable. My voice cracks on the last word, and suddenly I'm crying angry tears that I've been holding back for months. Not just about the clothes, but about everything. About feeling invisible in this house, about Dad prioritizing his new marriage over my grief, about being treated like I should be grateful for scraps of attention in what used to be my family. She's right, Dad says quietly, and I look up in surprise. I've been telling myself that this was about adjustment and blending families, but really I've been asking her to sacrifice pieces of her mother so Madison doesn't have to be inconvenienced. Cheryl's mouth drops open. That's not what. It is what happened, Dad continues. And I'm done pretending otherwise. The kitchen falls silent except for my sniffling. Madison is staring at her hands, Cheryl looks like she's about to combust, and Dad looks more tired than I've seen him since Mom's funeral. That's when my phone buzzes with a text that makes my blood run cold. It's from Jake, *, dude, my parents came home early. Had to tell them about the storage thing. They want to talk to your dad. *. My phone buzzes again before I can even process the first text, *, they're calling your house now. Sorry. *. The blood drains from my face so fast I actually feel dizzy. Jake's parents are calling. Right now. While we're sitting here having this intense family meeting about Madison's stolen clothes, Jake's mom is probably dialing our number to ask Dad why his daughter wanted to store mysterious items in their garage. Everything okay? Dad asks, noticing my expression. Yeah, just homework stuff, I lie, frantically trying to think of a way to intercept the call. But the universe has apparently decided that today is the day all my chickens come home to roost, because at that exact moment, the house phone starts ringing. Dad glances at the caller ID. It's the Williamses. That's Jake's family, right? He reaches for the phone. Probably wondering about carpooling to some school event. Wait. I practically lunge across the table. Maybe we should finish this conversation first. You know, family stuff should stay private. Dad pauses, his hand hovering over the phone. The look he gives me is sharp and calculating, like he's suddenly remembering that I've already pulled one major deception today. Answer it, Cheryl says firmly. We could use a break from all this drama anyway. The phone rings a fourth time. Dad picks up. Hello, this is David. Oh, hi Susan. How are you? I watch Dad's face like it's a weather report that's about to determine whether I survive the storm. His expression starts pleasant and social, but I can see the exact moment Jake's mom drops whatever bomb she's calling about. His eyebrows furrow. I'm sorry, storage space. What storage space? Madison looks up from her phone with interest, clearly sensing that something new is happening. Cheryl leans forward, her parental drama radar pinging. She asked about using your garage. Dad's eyes find mine across the table. When was this? I mouth please at him, but he's not looking at me anymore. He's staring at the wall with that expression he gets when he's putting together pieces of a puzzle he really doesn't want to solve. No, Susan, I had no idea she was looking for storage space. Can you hold on just 1 second? Dad puts the phone on mute and the silence in the kitchen becomes suffocating. Want to tell me why you needed Jake's garage? His voice is deadly calm. It's not what it sounds like. Because what it sounds like, Dad continues, is that you were planning to move Madison's clothes somewhere off our property. Somewhere we'd never think to look. Madison's head snaps up. Wait, what? You were going to hide my stuff at someone else's house. That would have been. Cheryl pauses, calculating. That would have been theft. Real theft. Not just sibling rivalry or teaching lessons. You would have actually stolen thousands of dollars worth of belongings and hidden them where we couldn't recover them. The words hit me like a slap. Because she's right. In my rage-fueled planning, I'd crossed a line from teaching Madison a lesson to committing an actual crime. The only reason I hadn't followed through was Jake's parents coming home early. I wasn't going to keep them forever, I protest weakly. I just wanted her to understand what it felt like to have her stuff taken. By potentially making it impossible for us to get them back. Dad's voice is rising now. What if something had happened to Jake's family? What if they'd moved, or there'd been a fire, or they'd thrown the bags away thinking it was garbage? Each hypothetical hits like a physical blow because I hadn't thought any of it through. I'd been so focused on the immediate satisfaction of revenge that I hadn't considered the dozens of ways my plan could have gone catastrophically wrong. Dad, I'm sorry, I didn't think. No, you didn't think. You planned an elaborate scheme to steal your stepsister's belongings and hide them off our property, and the only reason you didn't follow through was dumb luck. He unmutes the phone. Susan. Thank you for calling. We'll handle this from here. As he hangs up, I realize that everything has just changed. This isn't about sibling rivalry anymore. This is about trust, and I just shattered what little was left. The silence after Dad hangs up the phone is so thick I can practically taste it. Everyone's staring at me like I've just confessed to planning a bank heist, and honestly, from their expressions, that might have been more forgivable. So let me get this straight, Madison says slowly, and there's something different in her voice now. Something sharper. You didn't just take my clothes to teach me a lesson. You were planning to make them disappear completely. That's not, I wasn't going to keep them forever, I stammer. But you were going to let me think they were gone forever, she continues, her voice getting louder. You were going to let me file police reports, let my mom freak out about stalkers, let Dad worry about break-ins, all while my stuff was sitting in some random garage across town. The way she puts it makes my plan sound so much worse than it felt when I was plotting it. In my head, I was the righteous victim finally standing up to my tormentor. But hearing it laid out like this. You would have let us call the police, Cheryl says, her voice barely controlled. You would have let them waste time and resources investigating a fake crime while you knew exactly where everything was. I would have given them back. I protest, but even I can hear how weak that sounds. When? Dad demands. After the police investigation. After we'd filed insurance claims. After Madison had to replace everything for school. School. I hadn't even thought about school. Madison's entire wardrobe for senior year, gone. She would have had to show up Monday morning wearing, what? The clothes she had at Taylor's house. Oh my God, Madison breathes, and I can see her working through the same realization. Picture day is next week. Homecoming dress shopping is this weekend. You were going to let me show up to school with literally nothing to wear. You could have borrowed something, I mutter, then immediately realize how stupid that sounds. From who? Everything I own would be gone. Madison's voice cracks, and for the first time since I've known her, she actually looks vulnerable instead of just angry. Do you have any idea how humiliating that would have been? The worst part is, I do know. I know exactly how humiliating it would have been because that's what I wanted. I wanted her to feel small and powerless and desperate, the way she made me feel every time she pranced around in my mom's clothes. But seeing her face now, watching the reality of what I'd almost done sink in, the satisfaction I thought I'd feel is nowhere to be found. Instead, there's just this sick, hollow feeling in my stomach. I think, Dad says carefully, we need to call Dr. Martinez. Dr. Martinez. The family therapist Cheryl suggested when they first got engaged, the one Dad said we didn't need because we were all adjusting fine on our own. David, I don't think therapy is necessary, Cheryl starts. Our daughter just attempted to commit what could legally be considered felony theft, Dad cuts her off. She planned to deceive law enforcement and let them investigate a crime she orchestrated. We are way beyond normal family adjustment issues. Felony theft. The words hit me like ice water. In all my plotting and scheming, I'd somehow never considered that what I was doing might actually be illegal. Seriously illegal. I need some air, Madison says suddenly, standing up from the table. This is too much. Madison, wait, Cheryl calls after her. But Madison's already heading for the back door, and something about the way her shoulders are shaking makes me realize that underneath all her anger, she's scared too. We all are. After Madison storms out, the kitchen feels like a tomb. Dad's still staring at the phone like it might ring again with more evidence of my crimes, and Cheryl looks like she's trying to decide whether to follow her daughter or call a lawyer. We need to get those clothes back upstairs, Dad says finally. All of them. Tonight. I nod miserably. I can do it myself. You don't have to. Oh, we're all doing it, Cheryl interrupts, her voice icy. I want to personally inventory every single item to make sure nothing's missing or damaged. Because apparently we can't trust you to tell us the truth about anything. The next hour is the most humiliating of my life. We form an assembly line from the basement to Madison's room, me hauling bags upstairs, Dad carrying them down the hallway, and Cheryl methodically checking each item before hanging it back in Madison's closet. Every designer dress, every pair of shoes, every accessory gets examined like evidence in a court case. This sweater has a pull in it, Cheryl announces, holding up a cashmere top that probably costs more than my monthly allowance. My stomach drops. That wasn't me. It was already like that. How convenient. I'm serious. Check the Instagram photos, I bet she posted pictures wearing it with that pull already there. Cheryl's eyes narrow, but she pulls out her phone and starts scrolling through Madison's posts. After a few minutes, her expression shifts slightly. Fine. It was already damaged. But that doesn't change the fact that you put a $3,000 sweater in a garbage bag. $3,000. For one sweater. The number makes me feel sick, not because of the money, but because it drives home how completely different our worlds are. Madison throws around clothes that cost more than some people make in a month, while I'm wearing the same 5 outfits on rotation because everything else reminds me too much of Mom. We're almost finished when Cheryl finds something that makes her freeze. What is this? She's holding up a familiar-looking black t-shirt, but her voice is confused rather than angry. Dad looks over. That's one of the shirts from her room. The Ramones shirt. No, Cheryl says slowly. This is Madison's Ramones shirt. The one I bought her last month at that vintage boutique downtown. Ice floods my veins. That's impossible. Madison took my shirt. I've had that one for 2 years. But even as I say it, I can see the tiny differences now that I'm really looking. The wash is slightly different. The fit is a little more fitted. And when Cheryl shows me the tag. This is a size small, she says. What size do you wear? Medium, I whisper. The implications crash over me like a wave. If this isn't my shirt, then Madison wasn't wearing my Ramones tee in her Instagram photos. She was wearing her own identical one. Check the others, Dad says grimly. We spend another 20 minutes comparing the clothes I'd grabbed with my mental inventory of what Madison had stolen. Some items are definitely mine, I can tell by specific stains or alterations Mom and I made together. But others are just similar styles that Madison happened to own. Oh my God, I breathe, sinking onto Madison's bed as the full scope of my mistake becomes clear. Some of these aren't even mine. How many? Dad's voice is dangerously quiet. I force myself to really look, comparing each item with my memories. The sick feeling in my stomach grows with each piece I examine. Maybe a third of it. I don't know. I was so angry, and everything looked the same, and I thought. You thought you'd grab everything just to be safe, Cheryl finishes. You stole clothes that Madison never even touched. The word stole hits different now. Because that's exactly what I did. I didn't just take back my own belongings, I actually stole things that were never mine to begin with. And Madison knows it too. She's been standing in the doorway for God knows how long, watching us sort through her belongings with an expression I can't quite read. Find anything interesting, she asks. Madison's voice cuts through the room like a blade, and I can feel my face burning with shame as she surveys the scene, her clothes spread across her bed while we catalog my mistakes like evidence at a crime scene. Yeah, actually, Cheryl says, her voice tight. We found that your stepsister didn't just take back her own belongings. She stole items that were never hers to begin with. Madison steps into the room, and I notice she's changed into pajamas, soft pink ones that probably cost more than my entire sleepwear collection. Her hair is damp from a shower, and she looks younger somehow. More vulnerable than I've ever seen her. How much of my stuff was never yours, she asks me directly. I can't meet her eyes. Maybe a third. I'm not sure. I was angry and everything happened so fast, and some of your clothes looked exactly like mine. So you just grabbed everything to be safe. It's not a question. Madison, honey, we're going to sort this all out, Cheryl says, moving to put an arm around her daughter. And we're going to make sure there are serious consequences for. Mom, stop. Madison shrugs away from Cheryl's touch. Just, give us a minute. Both Dad and Cheryl look surprised, but something in Madison's tone makes them back toward the door. 5 minutes, Dad says firmly. Then we're finishing this conversation as a family. After they leave, Madison sits down on her bed next to the pile of clothes, picking up the Ramones shirt we've been examining. I bought this the day after I saw you wearing yours to school, she says quietly. I thought it was cool, so I asked my mom to find me one just like it. My throat feels tight. I didn't know. Of course you didn't. Because you never asked. Just like I never asked when I took your actual shirts. She sets the tea down carefully. I guess we're both pretty terrible at communication. The admission hangs between us, and for the first time since our parents got married, we're actually talking to each other instead of just exchanging insults and accusations. I really didn't know some of these weren't mine, I say. I was just so angry about the flannel shirt, and seeing you wear my mom's clothes like they didn't matter. They do matter, Madison interrupts. I know they do. I was just. I don't know. Jealous, maybe. Jealous? Of what? You have everything. Madison lets out a bitter laugh. Yeah, I have everything. Except parents who were together long enough for me to have shared memories with them. Except a mom who isn't constantly worried I'm going to embarrass her in front of her new husband. Except clothes that actually mean something instead of just being expensive. I stare at her, trying to process this glimpse behind her perfect facade. Your parents divorced when you were little. When I was 8. Dad remarried twice after that before disappearing completely when I was 13. Now it's just me and Mom, and she's so desperate to make this work with your dad that she keeps pushing us to be instant sisters. Madison picks at her nail polish. But you have all these pieces of your mom, all these memories built into everything you own. I wanted that. I wanted something that felt real instead of just purchased. The confession hits me like a punch to the gut. All this time I thought Madison was stealing my clothes because she was spoiled and entitled, but really she was trying to steal my memories. My connection to something authentic and meaningful. That doesn't make it okay, I say quietly. No, it doesn't. Just like having your feelings hurt doesn't make it okay to steal half my closet and plan to hide it across town. We sit in silence for a moment, both of us staring at the evidence of how badly we've mishandled everything. That's when Madison says something that changes everything. There's something else you should know. About the security camera. My heart stops. What about the security camera? Madison looks down at her hands, and for the first time since I've known her, she actually looks embarrassed. I turned it off yesterday morning. Before I left for Taylor's house. The room spins slightly. You, what? I was planning to sneak back in tonight and grab a few more of your shirts while you were sleeping. I thought if the camera was off, no one would know I'd been in your room. She lets out a shaky breath. But then when I got to Taylor's and saw all your Instagram posts about family movie night, I felt guilty and decided not to come back early after all. I can barely process what she's telling me. So when Mrs. Henderson saw me moving bags to the basement, the camera was already off because I was planning to steal more of your clothes. Madison's voice is barely a whisper. You got blamed for something I did. The irony is so thick I can taste it. All this time, while Dad and Cheryl were building their case against me based on the disabled camera, the real culprit was Madison herself, who turned it off to steal from me. Why didn't you say anything when they were accusing me? Madison finally looks up, and her eyes are watery. Because I panicked. When Mom started talking about police reports and investigations, I got scared. I thought if I admitted to disabling the camera, everyone would figure out I'd been planning to take more of your stuff, and then I'd be in trouble too. So you let me take the fall for it. I let you take the fall for turning off the camera. I didn't know you'd actually. She gestures at the clothes scattered across her bed. I mean, when I heard about the empty closet, part of me was almost impressed. But I never thought you'd actually follow through on something that big. Before I can respond, Dad appears in the doorway. Time's up. We need to finish this conversation. Actually, Madison says, standing up, I have something I need to tell you first. The next 10 minutes are a masterclass in watching someone's worldview completely recalibrate. Dad's face goes through approximately 15 different expressions as Madison confesses to disabling the security camera, planning additional theft, and letting me take the blame for her actions. Let me make sure I understand this, Cheryl says slowly. Madison, you turned off the camera to steal more clothes from your stepsister. And then when we discovered the camera was off, you let us assume she had done it. Madison nods miserably. And, Dad continues, while Madison was planning to steal more clothes, her stepsister was actually stealing them back, plus half of Madison's closet as revenge. I raise my hand like I'm in class. Plus some clothes that were never mine to begin with because I was too angry to tell the difference. Dad sits down heavily in Madison's desk chair. So essentially, both of you were planning crimes against each other simultaneously. When you put it like that, it sounds really bad, Madison says. It is really bad, Cheryl and Dad say in unison. But then something unexpected happens. Dad starts laughing. Not happy laughter, more like the hysterical kind that happens when you realize your life has become a sitcom episode gone wrong. David? Cheryl looks concerned. I'm sorry, Dad gasps between laughs. It's just, we've spent months telling ourselves we were successfully blending our families, meanwhile both girls were running competing theft operations out of our own house. Despite everything, I feel my lips twitch. When he puts it like that, it is pretty ridiculous. This isn't funny, Cheryl protests, but I can see her fighting back a smile too. Madison catches my eye and makes a face that clearly says, our parents have lost it, which makes me actually giggle. Which makes Dad laugh harder. Which makes Madison start snorting, which sends all three of us into increasingly hysterical laughter while Cheryl stands there looking like she's surrounded by lunatics. Finally, Dad wipes his eyes and gets serious again. Okay, here's what's going to happen. Both of you are grounded for the rest of the month. Madison, you're going to return every single item you took from your stepsister, and you're going to pay for professional cleaning of that flannel shirt. If it can't be restored, you'll replace it with something of equal sentimental value, and I don't mean money. Madison nods solemnly. And you, he points at me, are going to write a formal apology letter to Madison for stealing her belongings, and you're going to do her laundry for the next month as payment for putting her clothes in garbage bags. Dad, I start to protest, but he holds up a hand. Both of you are also going to family therapy with Dr. Martinez, because clearly we have some communication issues to work out. He looks back and forth between us. But first, Madison is going to help you organize your room properly so you can tell the difference between your clothes and hers. And you're going to help Madison catalog her closet so she knows exactly what she owns instead of just grabbing whatever looks interesting. It's not the ending I imagined when I started this whole revenge plot. But as I look around Madison's room, our parents looking exhausted but relieved, Madison actually making eye contact with me instead of treating me like furniture, clothes sorted into neat piles of mine, hers, and disputed, I realize something important has shifted. We're not instant sisters, and maybe we never will be. But for the first time since our parents got married, we're actually talking to each other like real people instead of enemies forced to share a house. One more thing, Madison says as our parents head toward the door. About the vintage stores downtown. Maybe you could show me which ones you and your mom used to go to. I promise I won't buy anything that looks like your stuff. I just want to understand what makes something special instead of just expensive. I consider this. It would mean sharing something sacred, something that was just mine and Mom's. But looking at Madison now, really looking at her instead of just seeing the spoiled stepsister who made my life miserable, I can see something genuine in her expression. Something that looks like actual curiosity instead of just wanting what I have. Maybe, I say finally. But we start with the ground rules about asking before touching people's stuff. Deal, Madison says immediately. And you have to promise to actually tell me when something is off limits instead of just getting quietly furious about it. Deal. It's not a perfect solution. Madison still has an entire walk-in closet full of designer clothes while I'm working with 5 drawers and a shared closet. Our parents are still figuring out how to blend families without erasing the pieces that make us who we are. And I still have to face the fact that I almost committed what Dad called felony theft because I was too proud to have an honest conversation. But as I help Madison hang up the last of her clothes, including the items that were actually mine, now clearly separated and ready to be returned, I realize something important. Revenge might be satisfying in the moment, but it's conversations that actually change things. Even when those conversations start with someone stealing your entire closet.